Hello, everyone. I'm Ben,
And I'm Tia.
and you're listening to our podcast, The Gift of the Gab. You can find us on all social media at BT Smalltalk. Together, we'll be delivering you our new weekly podcast for the moment. Um, it's just we decided to make it because we just like to talk a lot, and sometimes we're usually having a laugh and just talking about different things. And we're like, oh, why don't we just put it on the mic? We have done this intro way too many times. But we'll get started with that. So, how have you been doing, Tia?
I've been okay. I've been okay. Just been at home, not doing nothing interesting because of the coronavirus.
Yeah, we are in interesting times at the moment with coronavirus, well, impacting the world
Hmm.
right now. But yeah, how's your day-to-day life been? Have you been? Well, I already know, but for those that don't know, you've had to be going to work, right?
Yeah, so I'm still working, but I do have some times that I'm at home. Um, but I feel like with the coronavirus and being in lockdown, I feel like I've got more lazy. What about you?
Um, I'd say similar to me. That's similar as well. I've noticed that I've got a bit lazy here and there because I'm so used to not leaving the house because I work from home now because of the pandemic.
Completely at
Yeah,
home, yeah.
haven't been back to work in like well to an actual physical workplace in since like
March
yeah because we
before the
yeah
lockdown.
we went home before the lockdown. They told us to work from home before then, so that's been interesting change. Although I'm not gonna lie, I am liking some aspects of working from home, mainly being reduced travel costs. Yeah, taking the tube with lots of people is not fun, and or taking the bus not fun, and being able to just wake up and then be like, okay, I'm going to start work, and then close your laptop and you're back at home and like you can do whatever you want. That has been really useful. I think I guess I think it's been a balance. It's made me like sort of productive in terms of doing other things, but also made me lazy about leaving the house. How about you?
Do you feel like not having a structure has changed?
Um, Not really, and the reason I say that is because I kind of do have a structure most of the week. I still, some people might make fun of me. I still wake up for like the same time as I do for work, although we have like a 2 hour grace period where you can start work, and I like to like start as early as possible and finish as early as possible, and because I'm in that structure and I work out just before that. I'm like, oh, okay, if I wake up, work out, and then brush my teeth, shower, get ready and stuff, and I start work, then like my day is kind of organized until like 4:30, 4:30 p.m., and then I kind of get to do what I want with the rest of the day. What about you?
That's interesting. I feel like for me, where I work different days, and I have more time at home now, I feel like I spend more time in bed when I am at home because I just say to myself, well, I'm off on Wednesday. I'll do this on Wednesday. And then Wednesday comes and I'm like, I'll do it on Saturday. Whereas before, I knew I had Saturday and Sunday off. So I had to do the stuff that I wanted to do on those days. If not, then I would have to do it after work. So that aspect, I think I've got lazy.
Okay, I can see how that happens. Yeah, it's just like a real big adjustment for everybody. How have you found out like people around you are coping, like your mates and stuff?
I think most people are coping better than I am because I'm a germaphobe. Um, I think a lot of people are enjoying the lockdown, but then I have a friend who likes to stay at home and she's not enjoying it. But she always before liked to stay at home, but now this is too much home for her. And it's kind of now before she got the option to stay at home, but now that option's been taken away from her.
Oh, okay, so she's yeah, she's found herself in like a different situation than what most people were used to before the pandemic. Uh, yeah, and I feel like it's having an impact on a lot of people's like mental health. Um, I think it can take a toll. Although like there are some aspects of like just kind of working in a different space and being able to work from home that I enjoy. I can see how it can like take an impact on people as well, and like the lack of social interaction. I think we just been able to what allow me in another household like a week ago. Is it 1 week ago now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now a lot of people are now just getting to see some of their mates or
The
their
loved ones as
family
well.
or yeah, that they haven't seen in like since mid-March,
Yeah.
and what we're in late June.
I know.
Yeah, time is this year is going by like super quick, but yeah, it's a real difference. And even going outside and seeing people with face masks on, it's like but
It's a different time.
it is a different time. It is very much a different time. Um,
And just trying to stay away from people as well, where some people try their hardest to stay away from you, whereas some people doesn't look like they even know coronavirus exists.
yeah. I've noticed. I've noticed the different level of caution that is taken by different people. I just try like make sure I'm cautious of myself and make sure I'm not infringing on anyone's like personal space. Yeah, because although like I think some people will feel like, oh, okay, I'm a bit less at risk, I can be fine, but like although I'm like, okay, I'm not too what's it called? I'm not like too overly what is the
Paranoid?
yeah, I'm not too overly paranoid, but I'm still like aware that there is a threat, and like I don't want to be the one who passes it on to someone else
Yeah.
by not taking care of myself. So
So what you're saying is you're healthy, and so the threat to you
well,
is
as far as I know, I'm
yeah,
healthy.
yeah,
That's as far as I know. Right. Yeah, but I'm still not willing to roll the dice. It's like well, it's not really like this, but when Bloody Mary was going around in school, like say it 3 times in front of the mirror, I was like, I kind of knew, like, all right, like the chances of it happening to me
yeah.
is low, but why am I gonna risk it for no reason?
No, that's true. That's true.
But yeah.
That's like some people saying, like, God has got me. I feel like you wouldn't do certain things to put yourself more at risk. Like what
Yeah.
you were saying. Like you wouldn't, like they will say, oh, you've got as much risk as being hit by a bus or something like that.
Yeah, I don't like the false equivalencies
Yeah.
either. But with the God has got me, I understand like people come from a place of faith, especially during a time like this.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's people might turn to religion as a comfort, and I understand
Yeah, you
that.
have to, I think.
But I think you shouldn't test God. Like you wouldn't jump out of a plane and be like, "No parachute, God's got me."
Yeah.
That's just you're just asking for trouble then.
Yeah, and you
But
wouldn't jump in front of a bus in the night
yeah,
and say God's got me either.
yeah. So you just like take the precautions that you can take in order for, I guess, for you to be as safe as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, just
I'm extremely paranoid.
yeah.
Yeah.
So how have you personally been dealing with that? Maybe you can share some tips that might help someone else who's listening.
Well, I don't know if I've got tips, but for me, I've only recently started leaving the house and like going to the shops where there is crowded places.
Hmm.
But when I did go to work, I would ride my bike, and so I was getting an exercise.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to leave the house more because I see that I have a little bit of an anxiety being around other people that I don't know.
Hmm.
And so I wouldn't want this to be a thing that affects me, years down the line. So I can see as well why some parents want their children back in schools, because I think if I'm feeling it at my age, then surely the younger children would as well.
funny enough, you say that. I was watching, I think BBC News the other day, and they were saying that primary school children are like having increased bouts with anxiety because of the pandemic and like worrying about their parents who are like now the lockdown is easing, they're going to work, and I think that's definitely like the long-term impacts of both physically and mentally that the pandemic is going to have on people is going to be like really, it's going to be really well, not interesting, but going to be really weird to see like how people adapt to different things. Hopefully we will get through it okay. But yeah.
So how do you think this would affect young people?
Young people, right now I think a lot of prospects, like if we're talking uni, I think a lot of prospects are going to be impacted by coronavirus, because like the plan is like if you're a year one, plan go to freshers, party as we did, and have fun, and but now with like such strict rules around distancing and like even clubs are reopening and stuff.
They haven't opened yet though, have they?
Yeah, they're. I think they will be like amongst the last, because like everyone's just next to each other, sweating and sharing drinks and stuff like that. But yeah, I think they'll be amongst the last to open. I feel like it's gonna have a really big impact on young people, because their first experience to uni is not going to be the same, like online lectures and stuff like that. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's only so much help that you can get with online lectures. I think that it is better to have face-to-face lecture where you can the lecturer will say something and you can ask them in a break, or you can put your hand up and they're able to clarify what they mean. And I think online there's only so much of that you can get. As terms of partying and stuff like that and socializing, I think a lot of young people do go to uni for that very reason, and that is their main reason why they go into university as well. So that can be good, and that could be bad as well. Like if they're not going out partying, spending all their money, maybe they will be more focused as well on their education.
Maybe, I guess I can see that being true, both sides for people. I guess it depends how you work best. I don't want to scare all the uni people for too long. But yeah, and I think like even like the uni leavers or this current year leavers, it's like difficult to get work, because like a lot of markets are experiencing a lot of turbulence or turmoil, and that means like job prospects and like sort of getting your first job out of uni within the career you want it to do is a bit harder. Some people are able to, but I think it's going to have an impact on like in terms of how long it takes people to get like a job in their career straight after leaving uni.
Yeah, I know for me, when I left uni last year, moving back home and finding a job was a worry for me. And so I think for uni leavers who would have left this year and maybe next year, they would have extreme pressure on finding a job, especially when there is so many people now unemployed and there is so many jobs that have either gone under or might be going under, and they might not be hiring the same way or expanding their business the same way as what they would have been last year, let's say.
I'd say definitely, I definitely agree with that. It's like a whole like restructuring of so many companies, and like so many practices of working is going to have to change, that like I hope they're looking out for us young people,
I really hope so.
I hope they're looking out for us young people, because sometimes it seems like our concerns aren't really met, but hopefully some good comes out of this. But before we get to some of the good, we're gonna have an appropriate time to say thank you to all the NHS and key workers.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, they've been doing a terrific job.
And all the frontline workers as well.
Yeah, that's why key workers, anyone who has to go to work during this time and like
be around loads of people, the NHS workers who are actually working with those who have COVID-19, the staff who work in the nursing homes and stuff. It must be so hard to have people dying around you. It must be.
Yeah, I think it's not an easy aspect of their job, but yeah, that's why I continue to give them thanks.
Thank you.
But we also got some sad news. I'm sure many of you saw on the news. I think Belly Mujinga.
Yeah.
She. Do you remember the news story about her? Do you want to go into it?
Yeah. Well, she was the railway worker who.
The railway worker.
Railway. Oh my goodness, I can't say it. You say it.
Now I'm gonna the railway worker.
Yes.
But yeah,
who was spat at by a man, and unfortunately contracted COVID-19 and died from it.
Yeah. They're actually saying, like, when I was following, because I was following the case, I found it like really sad. It was quite distressing, like, and because he said that he had the virus and then apparently gone to her and spat at her. But the British Transport Police have now closed her case, and they did that about 2 weeks ago. But they
said there was no evidence.
Yeah, they said there was no evidence. So I was looking into it. It's also been, I guess, forwarded to the Crown Prosecution Service. For a review, they said. But when I was reading into it, they said there was no evidence. The police said there was CCTV, and it didn't show any
witnesses as well.
Yeah, there was like a 57-year-old man that they said they interviewed about it, and that there was no evidence that he's found. They spoke to witnesses, but it just seems like really, really odd. I don't know where that like narrative came from, because then it seems like they found the person, but the person said, "Oh, okay, I didn't do it," but then people say she did, and it's just kind of sad that like her family doesn't currently look like she's gonna get the justice that she deserves, because I think it was like just a cowardly act.
Yeah. I want to say as well, I don't think that anyone should be spitting at anyone. That is very, in my opinion, very childish to do.
Taking a bold stance there, aren't you?
And then to do it during COVID-19.
Yeah. I feel like spitting is like, with or without COVID-19, it's like it's a serious disrespect.
Yeah.
Spitting is just like, we have a problem.
Yeah, and I feel if I was to accidentally spit on you while I'm talking, I'd feel really bad. Let alone to do it by purpose during COVID-19 and then say you've got it.
You ever been talking to someone and you notice like the spit, like you spit and you're like, oh, did they notice? And then you're just kind of like, oh, looking around. But yeah, during COVID, it's like really sad. But I just wanted to highlight attention to the case. I know probably many of you heard of it, and if you're following it, there was petitions for them to release the CCTV, and also I think fundraising for her and her family to cover the funeral costs at the time, and also I guess help secure her family's future, because now like their income has been taken, a loved one has been taken from them, and it's going to be a tough time and an adjustment period, as it is for many people. What are we, like over almost at 45,000 deaths in the UK COVID related, and that doesn't even include like people who've died because they've not received treatment due to COVID, or like it's a lot.
It is.
Well, it is definitely a lot.
I do hope COVID-19 does bring like a silver lining into like the hygiene that people take.
Yeah.
Because I as I said, I'm a germaphobe, and it just shocks me every time to see how much people used to not wash their hands before they did simple tasks like getting off a bus or before eating, even if that's using a wipe or hand gel. How many people will touch everything on the bus and then eat a packet of crisp?
Yeah, definitely.
And
Eye
so
opening.
yeah, and so I feel like with COVID-19 coming around, there are more people who have a higher level of hygiene, and so for me being a germaphobe, I like it.
I guess that's one way to look at it. We're hopefully going to be a cleaner society as a result. But yeah, hopefully that, um, hopefully the long-term impacts aren't as great as they are.
Yeah. What do you mean in terms of what do you mean?
No, just the long term impacts in regards to what happens to us or what happens to everyone, like how we go forward if we'll ever get back to normal, or if the new normal is gonna last for a very long time. Just hopefully whatever the new normal is, or however long it takes to get back to how it used to be, isn't too long and isn't too different from what people are used to.
Hopefully.
Yeah, but there is some more news. I think this week, Boris announced the new medication for severely ill patients. Did you remember?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there was a steroid, dexamethasone, and it's meant to. Apparently, they kept on highlighting it's really cheap. I think that was like one of the focus points that they were very excited about, and I can understand why. If it's not coming at a great cost and it means it's easily available, I can see why that was being highlighted so well so much. But it's meant to it's meant to help really seriously ill patients. Yeah,
Which is good. I hope that it does, what they say it will do and really help and reduce the amount of deaths and the amount of people in hospitals.
yeah. So we'll await that and see how what the results of that
fingers
is
crossed.
when it's widely being used. I think it was just used in within the trial, and now they're recommending it across the world that it should be used for really seriously ill patients. But that doesn't mean, if a lot of people are listening, doesn't mean you can now go out willy nilly.
No.
You still gotta like take your precautions. But I'm sure you guys already know that. And what else has been happening? What else caught your eye?
So we've got the big Black Lives Matters protests going on around the world.
Yeah. So George Floyd's death sparked a massive protest around the world, and I think rightly so. It sparked protest because some uncomfortable conversations need to be had.
Yeah.
Well, uncomfortable for some people. I'll be willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I like. Did you see the video?
I am a bit of a prude, so I didn't watch the whole video. I've just watched bits and bobs of it. But I've heard it's horrific.
Yeah, I didn't want to see the video. It was all over social media, and I just like, I don't want to see this. Once I see it, it's in my head.
Yeah.
And I was just doing something, and it came across my feed from like a news outlet or something, and it was like a shortened video, but it was like the act that killed him, and it was just like really sad to see like him there, full of life, and like pleading with the officer to get his knee off the neck. And there was what, 3 other officers there?
Was it 3? There was 1 standing and 3 on him.
Yeah, I believe so. Was it 3 or 4 other officers apart from the main perpetrator?
So there was 3 other officers, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, and it took all of that. But whilst he was in handcuffs, I believe.
Whilst he was in handcuffs, yeah.
And like casually sitting there with his hand in his pocket. And the thing is, like, like you see like the life just leave him, and it's like he was crying out to his mom who was dead, and it was just like really sad to see. But I think that video, it's not just his death. I feel like a lot of the argument that a lot of people use, like, oh, why are you championing him, and like I've seen a lot of frankly racist
Yeah.
like use that as, oh, why are you championing him, like it's just like this shouldn't be happening, and it happens
No.
too much, especially in America, to black people over there. And it's just been having a really, and I think it's just sparked like a real movement. Like it's been sparked a couple of times where people feel like not even feel like, where people are just get to the point and there's a breaking point, and people are just
Yeah.
tired of like being mistreated and like under the auspice of, oh, we're equal and we aren't that bad, but meanwhile it's like, and we kind of are, and it's caused a global movement around the world, and lots of companies coming out in support,
Yeah.
and well, but we'll see how long those companies.
But that is the thing. Like,
Yeah.
are they just saying it just to say it, or are they, like, do they want? Like, some people say they're just saying it just so they still have the black people buying from them.
Yeah, I'm sure. So with some efforts, it's for marketing,
Mm-hmm.
and not to be caught on the wrong side, and some it's genuine
Yeah.
support. It's hard to differentiate the two at the moment, but I guess time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
And I think right now we're at a time where it's like silence isn't enough. Like,
Yeah.
like if you just going about your normal day, or like you're one of those people who's like, oh, you know what, they should, and you kind of get uncomfortable by the protest. That's what protest is meant to be. It's not meant to be something that when you see it, you're like, oh, look at that. The reason people are bringing attention to the injustices is because it's unfair, and a lot of people have been turning their eye on
Yep.
it. And I think at this point where we're at, it's not enough to stay silent and be an ally or whatever. It's to speak up, whether you see injustice or whatever, and know if you do play a part, if you are a part, that you're part of the problem.
Yeah, and I think as well, this has happened so many times, especially in America. But the difference is, I feel like people were saying, if he didn't do that, if she didn't do this, if she didn't say that. Whereas this George Floyd case, it was just so, like, I can't even explain it. Like, there was no reason for his knee to be on that man's neck for that long, in handcuffs, and there was 4 of them.
It's like really shocking to see. Like as you were saying, like usually when things like that happen, they're like, oh, but look at this, look at his or her background, they've got this case or they've got that case, and people kind of explain it away.
Yeah.
Whereas like, oh, if I was in that situation, or they should have complied and done this, or they shouldn't have been fidgeting. And it's just like, what are you gonna do if you are on the floor with handcuffs telling someone you can't breathe, they're still on your neck? Like, what explanation do you have for that? How do you wiggle your way out of that?
Yeah, and especially when his body was lifeless, and everyone around them were pleading, like, get your knee off his neck. He can't breathe. His nose is bleeding, and you still continue to press just as hard down on his neck.
And I think the reason it sparked such a global movement is because a lot of people have been able to put themselves in that situation and see that outcome. Like, once you're there, what are you gonna do? That changes the outcome for you.
Yeah.
Like, I think he knew like he wasn't gonna make it out of that situation, and it was like really sad to see. But I just hope that some change comes from this. And speaking of change, in the UK, there's been protests, especially like pulling down of the news keeps highlighting like, oh, they're pulling down historic figures and stuff like this, and oh, you're just gonna erase all our history and stuff like this. But
the statues,
the statue, but like, the same people don't want they're so concerned about history when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to like teaching about the actual
Yep.
history of the British Empire
Mm-hmm.
and all the wrongdoings and all the everything about it, it's so smally. It's not touched on enough is what I should say, and it's not like the curriculum does not focus on it enough, like slavery.
No,
Like what did we learn about slavery in school?
I don't
We learned
remember.
it happened, but we didn't learn like the scale or like
No,
most of the
definitely
things
not.
I know about slavery has either come through like conversations with family and like other black people,
Mm-hmm.
and just reading into it on my own or like watching videos and stuff like that. Even entertainment, like sort of movies and stuff. Like I'm sure like 12 Years a Slave forms uh
Yeah.
like a picture of slavery in a lot of people's head who might not have known like the different
Mm-hmm.
aspects of what had gone on. But like they'd be championing to like, oh yes, we need to teach all the history, preserve this statue, do this.
Yeah.
But when they're saying, oh, okay, how about we teach about some the real
The real truth.
yeah,
They'd
how the
be
British,
sugarcoating it. They'd be
yeah,
saying all the nice stuffs and
yeah.
leaving out all the messier stuff.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, oh, you know, the British Empire, the sun never set on the British Empire, but they're not telling the story, the real story of the reason why the sun didn't set on the British Empire, what they had gone into other countries, and like how they imposed the religion and the culture and stuff, and yeah, we could go on and on about
Yeah,
this.
but I feel like as well because we are black, so we're most likely to hear stuff from our family or to do our own research and stuff like that. Well, but unfortunately for some other groups,
Yeah,
they don't really have that. I feel. What do you think?
no, I think you're definitely right.
Or they might not because it doesn't necessarily affect them. They might not look into it, or
Yeah,
they might not even live in an area where there is even
black people.
black. Yeah,
Yeah, like
exactly.
sometimes you forget like how I was gonna say how big the UK is, but compared to the rest of the world, pretty tiny.
Yeah.
But like the concentration of like multicultural people is in London, and then once you leave London, like you can go to other like Birmingham and Manchester and other big cities, and you'll find like black and other ethnic minorities, but like once you're in rural areas, there's not many people that look like us, or there's not
If at all, innit?
yeah, and I can really see how there would be a tendency to not really teach the history or in those areas, or like there is no requirement because there's no one saying, hey man, why aren't you saying this and why aren't you saying that? But
And yeah, go on.
even though that's what I had
And
to
do
say.
you feel like, see, not all these people in villages and small towns, I would say, are racist, but do you feel like because they haven't been taught these things, because they're not around people who don't look like them, do you think like that they're not knowing plays a part?
Yeah, so I think a lot of racism in the UK, and some of it actually I don't even want to say a lot. Some racism comes from ignorance, and I feel like maybe that's what you're touching upon. Like people, like
They don't know.
yeah, even like if you're a black person, you go there, then they're all looking at you and they're wondering if you're meant to be there, and that's sort of racist itself. And I feel like it's not enough to say, oh yeah, they just don't know because there's not many black people here. Like inherently, you know what's right and wrong,
Yeah.
and like you shouldn't be treating someone differently just because maybe you don't see a black person here every day. It shouldn't be like, oh, he's look, what's this black person
Yeah.
going into a house with a key? Let me call the police.
Let's follow him, Karen.
Yeah, let's call the police or let's do this. Oh, and that reminds me when you say Karen of that video. It's been like what 2 weeks since that video of Amy Cooper.
Oh yeah.
Well, name and shame her. Name and shame because she was basically just yes. She was just basically. She knew what she was doing, and for those of you who haven't seen the video, I suggest you look it up. I think both of the people involved, the black man, he was a bird watcher. His name was what was his name? What was his name? Do you remember Chris Cooper? And her name was Amy Cooper. It's a white woman. They're not related though.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't even know they had
but
a
they
similar
both, yeah,
surname.
they
One
both.
with a C, one with a K. Is it? Or...
No, they're both Cooper with a C.
Oh.
One's just Chris Cooper. The black man's Chris Cooper. The white lady was Amy Cooper. You've probably seen the video. It made the rounds like a week or two ago, and the video starts. If you're watching this, pause it if you haven't seen the video. If you have, just continue listening. But the video starts with the man. I think he is asking her to put her dog on the leash because apparently it's like
it has signs all around
Yeah.
that part that says only dogs on leash because it ruins it. I don't know, something about the birds.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe something about the birds, or maybe just a rule in the park. But whatever it is, there's a rule like put the dog on the leash, and he just like tells her put the dog on the leash. And then the video starts, and she's like, "You're attacking me. Like," and she's getting really frustrated. Like she's getting really frustrated and hysterical. Like, and what seals the deal for the video is when she calls the police and she's like, "I'm calling the police because you're a black man," and I don't know why race
at this point she's talking normal.
Yeah. At this point she's talking normal. She's like yelling at him. She doesn't seem to be scared. At this point, she doesn't seem to be scared, and as soon as she dials 911, I guess, her tone changes. Her body, she starts acting. She
you would really think she's being attacked by someone. Like someone could be holding a gun to her head.
If you're on the other side of the phone and you're hearing that, you're hearing someone in distress thinking, "Oh, what's going on?" As a 911 operator, and she's like, "There's a black man. He's doing this. He's doing that," and like it's just like she knows that her privilege allows her that she can get away with lying, essentially, is what it is, and
that is
putting someone else
right there.
just putting someone else in there. And she knows the thing that was so eye-opening about the video is just that she knew that if she acts this way and she says, "Oh, this is a black person doing this," that they will essentially like, "Oh, they'll come and rescue me."
And that could have potentially been another black man dead for nothing.
The list goes on and on, like with especially black people in America just being persecuted and just being harassed for no reason. Like you can find YouTube videos of just the other day I was watching one. This was from I think a year ago, but like there was a woman in a library in a university over there, or a college over there, and she was like starting some new work.
Oh yes,
program.
I did see that one. Yeah,
and they call like
she fell asleep.
She fell asleep with a book in her hand. Nothing threatening. She's eating her lunch and like she's fallen asleep. And someone, instead of going up to her and saying, "Oh, like if you don't know that she works here," apparently it was an employee who called the police, but they called the police and said there's like and they described her as like basically not doing what she was actually doing to get the police there or something. And the police came and they just asked like, "Oh, hi, who are you?" She was recording, luckily, and I advise most of you, if you can, to record your interactions if you feel unsafe. And they came up, the police came up and asked, "Oh, who she is." She explained, "Oh, I'm on an intern or work program. Like I just started, I just had lunch." And the police was like, "Oh, okay, like sorry, like your time was wasted and not," and just went off their way. And it was just like, what? Would you do that if the person is not black and they were just sitting there reading the book? And
I think the one that I had seen was slightly different, where it was similar. It was a girl. She was writing her paper. I believe it was Oxford or a university of some sort similar. She was writing a paper and she had fallen asleep on the couch in the communal area, and a white student had called the police on her to say that she didn't belong there. And I think they were arguing, and she went downstairs where her room is to go to the toilet. And then the police turned up, and they were like asking her all types of questions. And then she was saying, "I was writing a paper. I can show you that I can get into my apartment." And she opened the door, and they still continue to question her. and I believe one of the police officers were asking her unrelatable questions to what was going on, and she was saying, I've just shown you my ID, I've shown you that I can get into my apartment, you can call someone in the office, and you know,
that happens way too much. I've even had, like, just remind me of another example I was watching the other time. There was like there was a black guy. He's like fair skin, like, I don't know why I'm describing him with like dreadlocks and whatnot, but maybe I don't know. If you're not watching the video, helps you. And, like, and he's basically outside with a litter picker, outside some sort of I think uni building, student accommodation.
Yeah.
He's outside there. He's picking litter and he's putting it away. He's not doing anything threatening. He's just picking litter.
By the way, he lives there and he's working.
I was getting to that.
Sorry.
Right. But yeah, so he's just working there. Policeman pulls up and he's like, like, I don't know if they had been called. I've forgotten.
I don't think so.
But maybe he just saw him there and he went there, or maybe he was old. I don't know. But he went there and he was like, "Oh, like, do you live here? Do you have like because you're not allowed to trespass here?" And the guy goes, "Oh yeah, I live here. I live in here and I work for the company. I'm picking up litter." He's got a litter picker in his hand and a bin bag, like
a plastic bag.
Not the most a plastic bag. It's like. It's not your starter kit to rob a building.
I mean,
so he's asking him, and I feel like where most people who defend like the actions of the police in like these scenarios will say is like, oh, why doesn't he comply? Why doesn't he do this? And it's because they're not used to because they don't get bothered themselves. They don't see the disparity in when why should someone else, like, who is going about their business, have to do all these things extra when they're not being treated equally? Like, you wouldn't be harassed and told, like, well, where are you? Like, be honest with yourself. If you're going out your day to day, you ever stop by the police and say, like, oh, do you have a reason to be here, or do you have a thing? But that happens to a lot of black people, and people fail to see the equivalency and how that's fair and how that can cause people to be angry. And he was right. I feel like he was right. He was like, I live here, I work here, and blah blah blah. And he's going around just continuing to pick up the litter. The policeman's getting a bit more irate, and he's like, "You put down the weapon," and it's like a litter picker. He's like, "How? I'm gonna just continue doing my job." Because
the
you're
most
just
you
harassing
can
me.
do is whack him with the litter picker.
Yeah, and then the policeman like goes to reach for his gun, and he's like, "You're reaching for your gun? Seriously? Like, I've just got a litter picker, and I'm not even like waving it at you or threatening you with it." And he was causing a commotion. The policeman called more policemen to come, and
over litter picker.
And what takes the biscuit is in the video. Well, I from what I saw, the manager of the student accommodation came out and he confirmed, yeah, this guy works for me. Like this, he lives in this accommodation, and the policeman's like, well, oh yeah, okay, misunderstanding. If he had just like complied, we would have been able to sort that out easy. And the guy was like, but what takes the biscuit is, when he came, I didn't see them do the same questioning to this man. It was a white man that came out, and they just took his word. Oh yeah, he's my employee. I think he came out there with his shirt, dressed in his like business shirt, and just told him. And then they took his word for it. And that's the inequality or the privilege that when it's pointed out, people aren't seeing, and it's causing a lot of anger.
I think a lot of people have to ask themselves, if this person was white, would the reaction be the same?
Yeah.
And opposite, if this person was black,
well, no, it wouldn't be the same, but
this
I get what you're saying.
Reaction be the same? Like that guy who, what was it? He shot up the school and they offered him a drink of. Yeah, like
no, it was. I think
I'm mixing two.
I think it might be like the guy who shot up the church. I think his name is Dylan Roof or something like that. He shot up. If I'm correct in the story, because I know that story separately, but he is in South Carolina, I believe, and he shot up a black church, and like they managed to detain him all safely. And if I'm not mixing up two stories, because there's so many, like he got to have Burger King on the way home. They managed to arrest him without any issue, and
No knees on necks.
yeah, no knees on necks. And this is after he's massacred like a church congregation.
Shut up the whole place.
After they had sat there and prayed with him and done whatever, he just turned around and said like he's gonna kill them all because of the color of their skin or whatnot. And he gets like this treatment, and it's like, all right, we understand when people do wrong, like police come and like they're going to deal with the situation, but we're saying if you're doing the same thing to black people, you should be doing the same thing to white people. And if you don't want to do the same thing to white people, stop doing that thing to black people.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that's what is causing a lot of the turmoil that we're currently seeing. Like so many names like Breonna Taylor.
So sad.
That one was by the police, and I think just a few weeks or in the same month before George Floyd, like Ahmaud Arbery, that case came out into the light. Although he had, I think, died before that, but the lawyer of the defendants, would it be? The perpetrators, let's say. The lawyer of the people that killed Ahmaud Arbery released the video thinking it would help him.
Yeah.
And it just showed that it was just like, you just killed him for nothing.
Yeah.
You killed him for nothing. And like, what was his crime? It wasn't even a crime. Like, there's a house under construction, and multiple people had gone in that house and just like, or like, it's not even going in the house. It's like still being assembled.
It was a foundation of the house.
Yeah, a foundation is a better word. And just like taking a peek, and it revealed like I think he was working to be an electrician or some sort of trade job.
You could see that he was looking up and looking at all the things that they have done.
And he wasn't the only one who had done that day. Yeah. He might have been the only black person who had done that day, but these two white gentlemen took it upon themselves to become neighborhood watch, similar to I don't know if you heard a few years ago, not more than been quite some time. Trayvon Martin, it was killed by George Zimmerman. Your local neighborhood watch took it upon himself to go and basically see what this black person is doing in his neighborhood going home. Trayvon Martin had a packet of Skittles in his hand, and that becomes relevant later on because you find out George Zimmerman is a real piece of work. And so George Zimmerman gets away with the crime. Essentially, he's not a police officer. He just took it upon himself, and like Trayvon Martin was defending himself, and George Zimmerman shot him dead. But he lived in that neighborhood, or like his uncle or someone lived in that neighborhood. His family, he had been there many times. Like it was his abode. He had the right to be there. And like after George Zimmerman like reveals how much of a piece of work he is by like he's signing like Skittle bags that George Zimmerman had for like racist people who are like championing him because they believe that he did the right thing. Yeah, people really hate George Zimmerman. I think he moved out of where he was, or like he's had instances where people have like shot at him.
Wow.
But he's a piece of work.
And what you were saying about the video evidence.
Yeah.
As well, I know in Breonna Taylor's case, they were basically pushing her case underneath the rug for 2 months, and then the police record of the boyfriend who called the police because he just thought somebody had broken into his house and shot his girlfriend. They released that, and after that, that's when the case started moving with that. So it's really interesting that they push these cases underneath the rug. The general public don't even know that these cases are happening, and it's not until like a big piece of evidence comes out and the public in social media have to make it really big for something to be done.
Yeah, like with Breonna Taylor, she was sleeping when she was shot, and her boyfriend, I think, licensed firearm owner, and he thought there was an intruder coming into the house. He says
it's
police,
important to note as well that it was a no-knock warrant.
Yeah, so he said the police, and I believe it wasn't even meant to be the house.
No, it wasn't.
And if I remember correctly in the news that I saw, like that that warrant had already been carried out earlier that day or something.
He
Like,
was the guy who that they were looking for was arrested for
already.
something else. Yeah.
So they had gone to the wrong house and looking for this person, and the licensed firearm owner, Breonna Taylor's boyfriend,
Yeah.
because no, not Goran, thinks someone's intruding into this house. The police allege that they say, "Oh, we're police, we're coming in," but and he starts shooting at them.
He shot one of the police officers in the leg.
And they in turn shoot in the house. They killed his girlfriend who was sleeping, whether or not they knew who she was there, but still they killed someone, and they're entering his property. And he's last I checked, he had been arrested for it. But like it's like the unfairness of like, or the disparity of when some white, like a white American, uses the stand your ground or defense. I'm not too knowledgeable about what states that apply in, but how they're able to sometimes get away with the like killing people, and then when someone who would have been in his house with like, if you didn't come to his house, there wouldn't have been a problem.
Yep, you shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, you shouldn't have been there in the first place. When he defends himself, he's in trouble, and his girlfriend is dead. And it's just like, it's ridiculous, and like not enough people. Like there's like this blue wall that like within, like it seems a lot of the police forces, and they like people. Some do speak up, but it's general. It seems like practice to just cover things up.
Well,
that creates anger.
In this case, the incident report, the incident report said that Breonna Taylor had no injuries when she was shot 8 times. And then to make matters worse, when her mum was looking for her, because her mum obviously didn't know what was going on, mum was looking for her. The police police officers were asking her questions like, did her boyfriend and her, were they having trouble? Did they have any enemies? So to me, that sounds like they were trying to cover it up.
They're trying to cover it up because they realized they made a mistake, and they're like, "Oh crap! How do we cover it up?" And you gotta ask yourself, would the same thing happen if they're not black? Will they be treated in the same way?
That is the question.
Like, if the event goes down, will their families be treated in the same way? But yeah, that's we've been going on. You can see we're very passionate about it. And Boris Johnson, did you hear his statements? They're doing another review. They're commissioning another review into inequality in the UK, as if we don't know there is inequality. I mean, I was reading an article. We've had they said we've had 5 or 6 reviews since 1999. And
nothing has come from it.
There have been some recommendations that have been adopted, but when I was looking into it, like David Lammy, who's been more outspoken about the inequality, he's an MP. He's been more outspoken about the inequalities within like the justice system in the UK, and he was commissioned to do a review, and he found that there was inequality within the UK justice system, especially amongst youth offenders. I think it said, I think black people black people represent 3% of the UK. But in the prison system, I think
1%?
what he found was that within youth offenders, black and minority ethnic people represented 50% of the prison population. And
51%,
51% of the prison population. And it was just like, they've done these reports and they've commissioned these studies into looking into it, and they keep commissioning them, and then when they find something out, they make the recommendations. And then oftentimes not enough recommendations are taken. I was trying to find out what recommendations was taken, because I believe it said David Lammy, and that study brought up it was 30 something recommendations, and the Ministry of Justice, they said they implemented 16 of those recommendations, but they didn't even say which ones they had implemented. And it's like things like this, it's not really like public knowledge or on the news, and it's not really being followed, because I feel like black people take a a background seat when it comes to like things that affect us
Mm-hmm.
in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And often it's like, oh, the comparison, it's not as bad as America, or it's not this and it's not that, and it might not be in certain cases, or it might not be in terms of like sheer fatalities and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But they fail to acknowledge that there is still racism and some institutionalized racism in within many structures and
Yeah.
many organizations. And
I do want to say as well, like I did watch an interview with Boris Johnson,
yeah,
where he said that they are listening, they meaning the government. But if we look at things like COVID-19, we find that we know that BAME communities were dying much more than white people.
BAME being black and minority ethnic.
Thank you. And they did a review into why this is the case, and it found that who was it? Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock buried some. Is that his name? Yeah. Buried some of the recommendations as to what BAME communities can do to prevent this. And it's like 1 week they're saying Black Lives Matters, and then the other week they're doing this. So can't be both.
Even Boris's choice of words when he was describing the protest, like, it's just clear to see like how the people who are meant to be leading this country they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care. Like when he was describing the protests, instead of speaking about the injustices, his first stance was how to highlight how looting or how violence against police is like the forefront of the protest, and ignore the majority of peaceful protesters. And then when he's describing, oh, we're going to conduct a review and to end discrimination and victimization, it's like the use of the term victimization is like it's like it's constant. People who don't believe that there is a problem with equality and racism in this country tend to think that black people and other minority ethnics are victimizing themselves. And it's like, no one wants to be a victim. We just want to be, look, put us on a fair playing field, and let us compete equally.
Yeah.
And it's too hard for them, and that's why we see so many problems today.
Like, for example, only 1% of the police force is from BAME community, and only 1% of judges are from BAME communities.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah.
I never knew. But yeah, I think there's problems far reaching, and it's gonna really take some drastic change. It won't happen overnight, and they're gonna keep having to apply the pressure on these people, and keep, like, at this point, like, if you're silent, it's like, don't really mess with you. Like, you can't just turn your head the other way and wait for change to be done, because you're part of the problem when you're not supporting when you're not supporting someone's fight for justice or equality.
Yeah, and if you have nothing to say, then, well, I don't know.
But yeah, but to highlight on a brighter note, I think yesterday was Juneteenth in America.
Yeah.
And we were just learning about that and doing our research, because obviously we're not American, but like, learning about black culture everywhere is important to us.
It is.
And like, I think they're trying to make it a federal holiday.
They have in some states
in
already.
Some states already.
They're trying to pass a bill, but I do know that, like, some businesses have said that they would allow people to take it off as a paid holiday.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and for those that don't know the background of it, I believe when I was looking into it, it started because Abraham Lincoln, slaves were emancipated across the other states, and I think Texas was one of the last states that wanted to keep it, as Texas and the South are one of the last states that wanted to keep slaves.
Yeah.
So about 2.5 years later, when I think Galveston, Texas, it said, when slaves when the freedom was announced to slaves there, that was June 19th,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why it's celebrated, and it's been abbreviated to Juneteenth,
Mm-hmm.
to celebrate the freedom of slaves across all of the US, because
Yeah.
initially they were still slaves after emancipation, the original Emancipation Day.
Yes, I think they got rid of it, but the word didn't get all the way there.
Yeah.
They say.
They say the word didn't get there. I'm sure the word got there, and they just said no.
Yeah.
But
So, what do you think of Trump saying he made the day famous?
Trump is. I don't think I'm taking a bold stance by saying he is a fool. Yeah. Anything for him to get attention, he does. Like, I'm sure some of the things that he does that is like really controversial. It's not just him who thinks of it, because I don't think he's that.
Intelligent?
Well, he's intelligent in some cases. I mean,
Yeah.
even though he got his inheritance, but he's made it grow. So it's clear he's intelligent in some areas, but I don't think all like he knows about historical relevance. But I think he feeds into the people around him as well, who are as racist as him, and they say, oh, you can say this and you can do this, and this is the impact it will have, and he picks and says, oh yeah, I like that, I'm going to say this, or I'm going to tweet this, and some of it is coming straight from him. I think he is it's clear to see he's a racist, and he's just someone who likes to cause drama and controversy, and he likes his name to be in the headlines.
I think so. I think he craves that attention, but he wants it to be the attention that he wants, if that makes sense.
And speaking on his intelligence, I feel like he's in, like he might, it's like I look at him and when he speaks like and stuff, I'm like, this is not an intelligent person. But I guess I'm like, but then he's had businesses, and so but now I'd be questioning it, like, is he actually intelligent? Or
but
like
sometimes, it's like the people around you as well.
Maybe I can't.
And if you've got the money and then you got the support,
I can't.
Socialization.
I can't speak on his life story and get into where he is in terms of in business. I'm sure I know he's definitely crossing people over. He had like bad business practices and like evicting black tenants from his accommodations and stuff. But in terms of like his speaking and the way he communicates himself, it's not very good. But
I think because he was gonna hold his rally yesterday. Where was that gonna be? Do you know?
In Tulsa, and do you know the significance behind?
It's a racist place. I don't know. No.
Tulsa is, I believe, where the original Black Wall Street was.
Yes.
And so there was like a budding community, and mainly majority black people in that city that were trying to make a life for themselves and it's being dubbed the Black Wall Street because they were doing well financially. And then there was basically a bunch of racists came down, burned it down, and massacred over 300 people.
Thinking, sorry.
And so they massacred like 300 people and stopped that from happening. And he's going there on Juneteenth, knowing that place is historically and significantly relevant to black people, and going there on Emancipation Day that black people celebrate there, and saying like, oh yeah, I'll hold my first rally here, knowing how controversial he is in the black community. And it's just like he does things like this where I don't think he knows in himself, like, oh, okay, like Juneteenth is this day. I'm sure if you asked him last year, he might not have known. But when he finds out about these things, he's like, oh, let me use it for my benefit.
Yeah. Well, I heard as well that he didn't know. He didn't know what the day meant, and then that was from like his advisor or someone who said that, and then he said he did know what the day meant, but then someone else said he then had to find out from one of his secret service, a black man in his secret service, which was the only person around him who knew what the date was.
So are you telling me Trump lied? your home.
Oh, he would never do
He
that.
would never do that. Let's not be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Nah, he'd totally lie.
But that is scary though. If
Is it,
everyone on your
don't
team and
think,
it's a Secret Service guy,
I don't think
one
at this
Secret
point.
Service guy who knows what Juneteenth is.
I think
That's scary.
Is it scary? Are you really surprised that? Let's be real.
I mean,
real. It's Trump. Are you thinking he's surrounding himself with people who know about Juneteenth or people who know about like let's be real.
But
like
okay, if you take Trump out of it, just him being the president of the United States, one of the highest offices in like the world,
the highest,
then that is quite scary to think of.
Yeah, it is, but like I think if you think of the history of the US and like not so long ago, like black people were like they were making postcards of lynchings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And although like they've had a black president since before Trump.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Some of these things, like him not knowing or whatever, even general people not knowing about these things, it doesn't necessarily surprise me. It's sad because, but it doesn't necessarily surprise me because, like, media doesn't cover those things there, and it's not like black excellence or whatever is not celebrated as much as like within black media and like culture and community that these things are celebrated. So your average American might not be aware of this, and I'm not surprised that Trump or his team lie and say they are or aren't.
But then that brings me to the question of the educational system. Like the same way as England, I think that history needs to be improved there as well, just on what exactly it is that they teach. If Juneteenth, because it is an important day, so
it is, but they're both Western, both UK and US seem to cover up their past and not really want to teach the relevance of things that sort of put other minorities in good lights, but we know that to be true.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to some brighter news. We've really got in heavy there. I didn't mention
we've got into that
time on that, but yeah. Did you hear about Rihanna and the latest charitable deed she did?
No, I didn't.
So her and I think CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, they donated another $15 million towards mental health services through her foundation. I think it's called the Clara Lionel Foundation, and it's not I remember seeing that they donated money before, but this is like another donation I think they've done on top of that. Some brighter news, especially during this time with the pandemic. I feel like it is essentially needed, and hopefully the money gets to the people that need it.
Yeah, actually get to the front. Yeah, I do know like a lot of other celebrities and stuff have donated, but I can't think of any names at the moment, but yeah.
There's been some wacky news stories in the news as well, not just some good news stories. Did you hear about the man who was fined €500 in Austria for farting at the police?
What?
Yeah, so the police tweeted that the man had been sitting on the park bench before getting up, looking at them and letting go a massive intestinal wind, apparently full of intent. I don't know what characterizes the wind as full of intent, but that's what the police department tweeted, and he was fined €500 for that. I found that pretty hilarious. I don't think he should have been fined though for farting.
I don't think so either.
How close was he to them that the fart was like an attack?
And unless he like bent over and farted and it was obvious that he was doing it at them,
I think any adult in an open space, because it seems like it's a park bench, has the option to distance themselves from a fart if it's being directed at them.
Yeah.
And, maybe they were like wrestling. Well, they said he was laying on the park bench and then got up and farted. So even it tells me they're not wrestling with him, and they he let one go in the face or whatnot. But I think €500 is a bit too much. I think maybe a talking to.
Yeah.
But yeah, €500 are pretty costly. It's a couple of meals, many meals.
How
You can
much?
tell I'm hungry.
Do you know what that is in pounds?
Yeah, so that was, I think it was around 400. They said 447 at the time,
Okay.
but it could go up and down depending on the rate.
That is a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of mullah, a lot of Benjamins.
That's a lot for a fart.
Yeah. But you think he learned his lesson?
Definitely, I would have learnt my lesson.
I don't think he did.
You don't think so?
No, not entirely.
Why?
I don't. I feel like you know, if I got a fine for farting, I'm gonna fight the fine first of all.
Yes, I would have.
And I might continue to do it.
Really? And get fined?
No, it's about expressing that it's okay to fart in a public space.
It is okay to fart in a public space.
I
I
don't-
personally wouldn't, but
You wouldn't?
I wouldn't want to get fined nearly £500 or whatever you said it
But
was.
I wouldn't direct my fart at police. I'm not saying I would. I'm just saying that we don't want them to start clamping down on farting in public spaces because
Goodness.
holding it in gives you belly aches.
Well, we all know girls don't do that, so.
Yeah. Well, do we really though? Some more good news. Malala Yousafzai. I might be butchering her last name, but do you remember hearing news about her like some years ago?
Yeah.
I think at the time she was in school. She was an activist for female education in Pakistan. She's Pakistani, and I'm sure lots of you have heard of her. But she was an activist. There's videos of her fighting for the rights of female education, and like in 2011, I remember there was like news articles, and then in 2012, sadly, she was shot in the head. I think 2 Taliban operatives, they pulled over her school bus and asked her for her by name, and when they identified her, they shot her in the head, hoping to kill her. Fortunately, she didn't die. She's a fighter. She fought through, and there was apparently a British surgeon, a lady who was rushed over there. She was like in there for meetings, and then they rushed her over.
Wow.
Because the surgeon was trying to stop the bleeding. The surgeon that she was with was trying to stop the bleeding, but she got infected by the tubes.
Oh no.
So they rushed her and someone else, I forgot their name, over there, and when she was stable enough, they flew her down to Brumtown, Birmingham, in the UK, and treated her, and she recovered. And now she's continued to act. She's continued being an activist, and she was I think the youngest recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize in 2014, and she was actually the co-winner. She won with someone else who was doing really well. I think just give him Kailash Satyarthi. I'm butchering the name again, but he was also an activist for education as well as stopping child labor in India, and they both won the Peace Prize, but she won it when she was, I think, 17 at the time in 2014. And now the latest news about her, she's just completed a degree from Oxford.
Oh wow.
Yeah, mate, putting us to shame. Well, we finished our degrees.
Yes.
We did well.
We did very well.
Yeah. But she graduated from Oxford with a degree in philosophy, politics, and economy.
Okay.
And I'm sure she'll continue to be an activist. And she set up the Malala Foundation. She's the founder of that, and they advocate for the right for women to be educated around the world. And I'm really glad that they weren't able to silence her message. I think it's a powerful message, and it's a beacon of light for a lot of especially younger girls who look up to her as a role model. And she also pressed your boy Obama, like when she met him. I was reading about that.
Oh, I haven't.
About his well, the US have been known for their drone strikes in Middle Eastern regions, and I didn't get to see the full article, but she pressed him about that. I think that's rightly so.
And it's amazing. Other than her getting shot in the head, did you say?
Yeah.
Like without that, maybe she wouldn't have ended up where she is today.
Yeah.
And so it's actually helped her in a sense to, really like push on. And sometimes they say like
I guess you got to look at the silver lining in the situation. Obviously I'm sure she wouldn't prefer to be shot.
Yes, obviously, yeah.
But she's been able to. Her voice is now.
Yeah.
It's the Barbra Streisand effect. I don't know if you know it. I think when
Heard
Google
it.
Maps was new, or so when they were doing satellite photos, she didn't want her house, her mansion, to be shown, and because she was vocal about it and was like really wanting Google to take it off, it caused more people to search it, and now like you got me speaking about it, and I wouldn't have been talking about it, and it's like the trying to silence something sometimes amplifies it.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely the case that's happened here. But yeah. Anything else you wanna talk about? Well, I think that's gonna be it, guys. We've had we've had a pretty longer episode than we planned. We planned for an hour, but hopefully you managed to stay with us throughout this time.
Hopefully we didn't talk your ears off.
Yeah, we just this is what we'll be talking about. Sometimes we just be venting to each other, and we think it's important to just be able to speak and have a conversation and a platform to just express your opinions.
Yeah.
And so you should check us out. It's our first episode. Our future episodes will be a bit more lighthearted, hopefully.
Yeah.
But there were some serious issues that we thought we should address. That reminds me. I don't know why it popped into you. Did you see the news? This is how we overrun. But did you see the news story of it was some time ago? Someone called Trump he's the first black president, and I think it was
what?
Yeah, I think it might have been a black person.
No.
And then it was like, well, you forgot about old boy Obama.
Wait, tell me properly.
Yeah, they were referencing him as he did something, and then Trump, and then I think he was meeting in a room of black people, some black people that like Trump,
Yeah.
those people, and he was like, oh, someone described him, oh yeah, this is our first black president, and it was like, obviously,
but
Obama
he's not
is the
black,
first black president.
he's orange.
And well, he uses a lot of fake tan or whatever it is, but
not around his eyes, he doesn't.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll just be watching the speeches with Obama versus Trump, and Obama's so smooth.
But why does Trump do the thing where he turns to one side and he turns to the other side?
I don't know, but just watch Obama speak and then watch Trump speak, and it's like night and day. It's like night, whether you agree with any of their policies, it's like night. I think it's undeniable to sit there and be like, Trump is a leader.
Yeah,
he is not. He's a divider, is what he is.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, I was meant to be closing off, and I went on a tangent there. But you can check us out everywhere podcasts are found: Apple, Google, Spotify, or all the links will be in description.
Thank you for listening. You can catch another episode of The Gift of the Gab next week, and you can find us on all social medias at BT Smalltalk. And don't forget to share, comment, subscribe, and review.